Now at 5, several wildfires continue to grow around the state, and we're tracking each one right now and the impact on you.
Nice today here across the state, but I'm tracking record temperatures here in Utah. I'll let you know when, coming up.
Plus, we go in depth on how wildfires actually end up harming our streams and watersheds.
Who etched a swastika into the glass panels of the Chabad Community Center? Police say they are one step closer to answering that.
A police shooting in Holiday was ruled justified, why the district attorney says the officers did everything right.
Utah wins it 117 to 111.
Fans are hugely excited after last night's big win against the Clippers.
I'm a fan, right? So that's short for fanatics.
But now the attention turns to game number 3, how you can watch here in Salt Lake, plus what some crazy Jazz fans are doing, coming up.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13's Live at 5 starts right now.
We're tracking at least 5 wildfires burning in Utah. Some of them have been burning for more than a week. At least 2 have prompted evacuations.
Let's take a closer look right now at those fires that are burning. The Bear Fire in Carbon County has been burning for days now just outside of Helper. One lane of US 6 is now open from the north end of Helper to US 191. 10 homes under pre-evacuation order right now. So far, this fire has burned more than 8,300 acres and is just 5% contained.
Evacuations are still in place in the Aspen Cove area of Schofield as the Benyon Creek fire continues to burn in Carbon County. This fire is more than 4,700 acres with 0% containment. 10 occupied structures. One family on vacation from Arizona had to get out in a hurry when the winds shifted yesterday afternoon.
It was hectic for sure, trying to make sure everybody was out, everybody was safe. Things are things, you know, you can always replace the things, but you just got to make sure all the people are out.
Significant winds and extreme fire behavior are making it difficult for crews to get the blaze under control. There is no word yet on when evacuees will be able to return to their cabins and homes.
Now to the fire burning near Moab. It's called the Pack Creek Fire. It is still 0% contained. This one prompted the evacuations of Pack Creek, Warner Lake Campground, and Uwa Lake Campground. The LaSalle Mount Loop Road, including Geyser Pass, is also closed up until the Warner cutoff. The fire has now burned almost 5,000 acres there. 3 structures have been destroyed.
In Garfield County, the Mammoth Fire is now 40% contained. About 700 acres have burned, but the growth has slowed significantly. Mammoth Creek Village remains evacuated.
And crews have really gotten a handle on the East Canyon Fire. This one in Morgan County. That fire burned about 835 acres. It is now 90% contained.
Allison, yesterday we were saying that today we were hoping conditions would give these crews a break. Is that what's happening?
We are seeing much lighter winds here across the state. We do not have the red flag warnings currently. Still, though, areas of smoke from the fires that are currently burning. The smoke is mostly light and in southern Utah currently. Temperatures here across the state are also fairly comfortable, at least for northern Utah. It's in the mid to upper 70s currently. And southern Utah, we have 70s, 80s, and even close to 90 degrees for some areas. So wind right now not as strong or as widespread as it was yesterday. Still a slight breeze for Blanding, Ely, and Elko, about 15 to 25 miles per hour. But our red flag warnings will return this upcoming weekend. Come Sunday, we have fire weather warnings for about 2/3 of Utah. So southern and central Utah dealing with fire weather yet again. 10 o'clock tonight, 67 degrees here in Salt Lake City. By 8 a.m., 66. By noon tomorrow, 84 degrees here in Salt Lake City. Now we'll keep things pretty dry through the upcoming weekend. Not pretty dry, very dry here across the state. But as always, you can check out by searching Fox 13 on your smart TV, and you can get these graphics and your traffic graphics on demand anytime that you want. But coming up for this weekend, though, we'll talk more about our heat warnings, heat watches, fire warnings, and what you can expect in the extended forecast coming up later this hour.
Allison, thank you. Fox 13 News is going in depth today on how fire impacts water. Our neighbors, of course, in Colorado had a catastrophic 2020 fire season.
The 3 biggest fires in that state's history happened within a year. Fox 13's Max Roth joins us in studio to see what one town lost when fire came to their mountains. Max.
Yeah, Bob, you know, with help from our partners at the Water Desk at the University of Colorado, we're going to look at the impact of one fire on the water in one city, Glenwood Springs, Colorado. The Grizzly Creek Fire was small compared to some of the monsters Colorado fought last year, but its impact will be felt for years. August 2020, the Grizzly Creek Fire raced down canyon walls outside Glenwood Springs, Colorado. City Councilwoman Ingrid Wusso watched from her deck.
You were hearing the helicopters and the planes overhead. You were smelling the smoke. You were seeing the flames coming over the hill. And it's so scary.
That's where the fire originated.
Glenwood Mayor Jonathan Godes also watched the fire, worrying about water.
Very shortly after we came to grip with where the fire was, how it was being fought, we then worried significantly about the watershed and what that meant for us being able to have any water in the future.
In areas where you see high severity, you would have a very thick layer of ash.
Fire destroys plants that hold the soil in place. The forest floor becomes loose sediment, easily carried into streams by snowmelt. Those streams then deliver a different quality of water. The ash and sediment can be toxic.
There is a possibility that when the fire burns the soil can release metals into the water supply. That can result in toxicity, sometimes lead, mercury, possibly arsenic. They can be dangerous.
Glenwood Springs scrambled to transform its treatment plant, preparing to receive water that used to come to them a lot cleaner.
The source water that will be coming to us in the spring runoff will be somewhere between 3 and 4 times the sediment loading that we're normally used to. So it's a significant change because right now we have amazing water.
Glenwood watched a fire claim 14 lives in 1994, 30 buildings in 2002, and now
I want us to be more cognizant of our watershed. I want people to always be remembering what it felt like last year.
So the Grizzly Creek Fire there burned about 33,000 acres. All in all, 625,000 acres burned in Colorado last year. In Utah, we saw just over half that much burn. Live in studio, Max Roth, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Max, thank you. Right now, Salt Lake police want to talk to this man. They say he is a person of interest in connection with a hate crime last month. On May 16th, a swastika was etched into the glass on the front doors of the Chabad Community Center.
Fox 13's Aaron Cox spoke with police and Jewish community leaders about the latest developments.
This police car has been out here for about 4 weeks, just as an added measure of protection after someone etched a swastika in the front doors.
Over here.
That is where one of the members of the Chabad Lubavitch of Utah found a swastika etched into the glass.
She called us right away. Yeah, she was freaked out.
The hate crime was done early on a Sunday morning in May. The symbol, already sensitive for those in the Jewish community, hit extra close to home for Rabbi Benny Zippel.
My mother of blessed memory, she was in a concentration camp with her parents for 2 years in Holland, and she's the only family member who survived the Holocaust.
For some, it is just a time in history, but Rabbi Zippel grew up with the aftermath of the Holocaust.
This incident is just, like I said, another very sensitive reminder of the hateful society that we live in.
Anti-Semitism is racism, says Asaf Romarowski, the executive director for an academic organization dedicated to improving learning and teaching about the Middle East.
Even though anti-Semitism is racism, they don't see it and they don't react in the proper way that I would argue they should be, acting when they see a racist crime.
Romarowski says just in the Northeast United States alone, they have seen a 55 to 60% increase of anti-Semitic activity in the last 18 or so months.
Since the rise of the Black Lives Matter movement, when the riots were happening around the country, you also saw that connection into attacking Jews. So I would say around the country in general, wherever you saw those riots taking place, Jewish institutions and Jewish individuals were also attacked in the process of those riots.
We as a society have to work extra hard to look for God's image inside every one of us.
The glass in these doors has since been replaced. And Salt Lake City police say they are working with the FBI on this case. In Salt Lake City, Aaron Cox, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Police were able to pull this image from surveillance cameras in the area. We just showed it to you. We want you to take another look. They say this is a person of interest in the case. And they say, although this is disturbing, hate crimes are not typical.
We don't see a lot of hate crimes in Utah. There are some. They are few and far between where we get documented. That doesn't mean that they don't necessarily happen. They could be underreported, where people don't call us and report them, and we certainly hope people would report those instances. So this is obviously the one that's kind of come to the forefront.
And police are saying if you saw anything or anybody near the Chabad Community Center at about 2 or 3 a.m. a few weeks ago, call Salt Lake City Police.
In Salt Lake City, and on the verge of going up 2 games to nothing. That'll do it. Utah wins it 117 to 111.
Yeah, the Jazz did it again last night. It was another close game against the Clippers, but the Jazz pulled it off, winning 117 to 111. They now lead the series 2-0. Teams will meet again for Game 3 in Los Angeles tomorrow night at 6:30. But before then, we've got the Sports Page Playoff Edition. That's tonight at 6:30. The Fox 13 sports team will provide analysis ahead of the next game, and that's tonight again at 6:30 on your streaming device, the Fox 13 app, on our Facebook page, and at fox13now.com.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
All right, much more for you coming up. Utah saw a massive uptick in recorded vaccinations today, but there is a big catch to the number. We'll explain.
And Utah officials have introduced a new guide for watering plants and lawns during the extreme drought, how it affects you, straight ahead.
And what a new report is revealing about the Trump administration and the search to find whomever was leaking sensitive information to the media. We'll be right back.
A backlog of recorded vaccine doses gave a big boost to today's vaccine count. The health department says 37,700 more vaccines were administered, but 26,000 of them were backlog doses dating as far back as January 19th.
Looking now at the COVID-19 case count, there were 266 new cases reported today, no new deaths. The total number of positive cases in Utah is now 409,007.
Meantime, the Davis County Health Department is shutting down its massive drive-through clinic in Farmington 2 weeks from tomorrow on the 26th. Instead, they'll hold walk-in clinics at senior activity centers in Clearfield, Kaysville, and Bountiful for anyone 12 or older.
And after more than a year of extremely restricted visitor policies, Intermountain Healthcare is letting more people visit their loved ones while in the hospital. Starting on Monday, 2 visitors at a time will be allowed at the bedside of patients, and people can visit COVID-19 hospital patients. The age limit for visitors will be moved to 12 years old instead of 18, and there will no longer be a general limit of visitors for end-of-life patients.
It's a delicate balance of, pulling back, but also making sure that our patients are safe and our caregivers are safe. I think the way we're approaching it right now is safe and will be effective.
The hospital will still require visitors to wear a face mask while in the hospital and practice good hand washing hygiene.
If you've done business with Volkswagen in the past few years, your personal information may be compromised. We'll explain why.
Welcome back. In national news, sources tell the New York Times the Trump Justice Department subpoenaed Apple for data on House Intelligence Committee Democrats.
As Isabel Rosales reports, the Justice Department is now investigating this bombshell revelation.
This is about everyday Americans, who don't want to see their government weaponize law enforcement against them because of their political beliefs.
Prosecutors for the Trump administration's Department of Justice subpoenaed Apple for the data of House Intelligence Committee Democrats, according to a committee official and a source familiar with the matter. The seized material includes data from Chairman Adam Schiff and Congressman Eric Swalwell. The Deputy Attorney General now wants the Justice Department to investigate.
I hope Trump supporters who fear Big Brother see that Donald Trump was the biggest brother we've ever seen in our country who did weaponize this.
The leak hunt, an attempt to find the source behind news stories about contacts between Russia and Trump associates.
We're going to find the leakers.
they're going to pay a big price for leaking.
Prosecutors made the norm-busting move of sending subpoenas to Apple, and with it, gag orders. They sought the metadata on more than 100 accounts of lawmakers, their families, and staff.
We brought about these new norms after Watergate to prevent exactly this kind of abuse. But they didn't survive this presidency.
The gag orders expired this year. Apple then notified its customers, leading to revelations. The DOJ also looked into the data of journalists at The Washington Post, New York Times, and CNN. In Washington, Isabel Rosales, Fox 13 News, Utah.
President Biden, meantime, taking his first trip abroad as commander-in-chief. He is at the G7 summit in southwest England. The agenda covers a wide range of issues, including the global economy, unity, and calling for a wartime effort against COVID-19. The summit comes after the president announced that the U.S. will donate 500 million Pfizer vaccine doses globally.
Be sure that we're beating the pandemic together and discussing how we'll never have a repeat of what we've seen, but also that we're building back better.
The president and first lady will visit the royal family over the weekend, and next week he travels to Geneva to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin.
Students in the Canyon School District are doing their part to conserve water through the district's Water Management Internship Program. It helps students learn about tracking water usage and monitoring sprinklers. They also perform measurements and calculations on soil moisture, temperature, and relative humidity to find the perfect watering schedule.
It's really important to have efficient water management systems because schools are probably could waste tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands on water each year if we're not careful.
Over the last 6 years of the program, the interns have helped save more than 20 million gallons of water a year.
As Utahns are asked to cut back on watering their lawns, the Department of Natural Resources is now giving out some guidance on just how much water your lawns will need. Fox 13 meteorologist Allison Krogan has been taking a closer look at that. Allison.
Yeah, for the first time, the DNR has replaced their usual lawn watering guide with an extreme drought watering guide with one goal in mind: to survive. The guide recommends watering 2 times a week in northern Utah and 3 times a week in southern Utah, and to prioritize watering trees, shrubs, and flowers over grass.
Different local water entities, different climates, different water supplies, and the state and the status that they're in all make a difference in what we need to do.
The survival approach to watering means lawns might not be green and lush, but it will keep your lawn alive, and the grass will recover once conditions improve.
We're doing this so we can extend our water supplies that much further. We just don't know how long the drought's going to last.
Eliminating just one watering can save about 3,000 gallons of water in the average quarter-acre backyard.
We all need to do our part to conserve, and for all that we do, that'll add up. These little changes will make big difference.
Well, in some areas here in Utah, we'll even find people who are wasting water. The Division of Water Resources has started a website where you can report those water wasters. We have a link on our website, fox13now.com. Well, in weather news here, we do have lots of sunshine in the forecast and more fire concerns over the next couple of days. Right now, downtown Salt Lake City, it's a perfect 77. I think that today is the best day in our 7-day forecast. It's Friday. The weather is the coolest it's going to be for quite a while, and it's not as windy as it has been. So I'm very happy to see fairly light wind here across the state. A few exceptions, Panguitch and Beaver currently seeing a breeze about 15 miles per hour. But we head into the next couple of days, and with the dry conditions, we're going to have the wind picking up a little bit on Sunday, and so we are right back into fire concerns. Still, though, even though we don't have red flag warnings right now or tomorrow, we obviously still need to be really careful here across the state as we start the weekend. But by Sunday, red flag warnings for southern Utah. On Monday, that turns into a fire weather watch. And then next week, look at this. The areas of red that you're seeing, that is an excessive heat watch. This will be in effect all next week through midnight on Saturday morning. And then for southern Utah, the St. George area, an excessive heat warning in place next week. So Dangerous heat in the extended forecast right now. That's why you've got to enjoy this, right? It's about 75 to 85 here across Utah. All smiles talking about this. St. George, though, still hot at 90 degrees compared to this time 24 hours ago. It is a little bit hotter out there, at least for northern Utah, and the temperatures will keep going up over the next couple of days. So when you wake up tomorrow morning, this would be a great time to get outside. 6 a.m. 58 degrees into the 70s by 9 o'clock in the morning. And then highs tomorrow, 92 degrees here in Salt Lake City. So overnight temperatures first thing tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. 40s, 50s, and even 60s for part of the state. So a comfortable morning, a hot afternoon by 4 p.m. We're looking at about 80 to 90 here across the state. St. George, you are close to 105 for Saturday and Sunday. After that, you are close to 110. So much heat in the 7-day forecast. Look at that by Wednesday. Could even be close to 115 Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. For the Wasatch Front, our heat really turns up on Sunday, 99 for a high there, 102 come Monday. That's why we'll have the excessive heat watch in effect for a lot of the state. Close to 105 on Tuesday. We're going to have temperatures that are going to be right at, maybe even above the hottest June temperature on record here in Salt Lake City. Overnight temperatures in the 60s and 70s the next couple of nights. So tonight will be the coolest evening. Tomorrow is going to be the coolest day in the 7-day forecast. This is all above average. So coming up later this hour, let's look beyond next Friday. What can we expect heading into next weekend as well? Those details are coming up.
It was a rude awakening for one Salt Lake business owner.
A 911 call saying, could you please go to your building? There's a car in your building.
What the owners are planning to do to keep business going.
Excitement over the Utah Jazz is sweeping the state of Utah, and that's sending some people even as far as Los Angeles. How some Jazz fans are cheering on their favorite team. Coming up.
I just want to give myself the best chance I can, so I study roots, spellings, definitions.
And after a year off, they're spelling their hearts out. We'll introduce you to some of the local kids competing in the Scripps National Spelling Bee.
In today's Money Watch, Volkswagen says a third-party vendor that it uses was hacked.
The company says more than 3 million customers or shoppers had their data stolen. This includes basic information like phone numbers, email addresses, and mailing addresses. Volkswagen says it reached out to some 90,000 people who had especially sensitive information taken, including vehicle identification numbers, driver's license numbers, and their social security numbers. Those were mostly customers of Audi, VW's luxury brand. The company says the data was gathered between 2014 and 2019 for marketing purposes.
The international chip shortage could soon get even worse. Taiwan accounts for more than half the world's semiconductor chip production. And as that country grapples with COVID-19, it's also dealing with one of the worst droughts it has seen in 50 years. And that is putting even more pressure on the chip production industry, which uses about 37 million gallons of water a day to produce chips. By the way, Micron in Lehi produces memory chips and is one of the largest water users along the Wasatch Front.
It was a third straight week of gains for U.S. stocks. The Dow edging up 13 to close at 34,480 about. The Nasdaq added 49 and the S&P notched a little bit higher there by gaining 8 points.
In the next half hour, the Bear Fire in Carbon County continues to burn. A live update on how crews are doing coming up.
An officer is praised for de-escalating a potentially dangerous situation before a suspect was shot by police. What happened and why it was ruled justified.
An important highway in central Utah remains closed as the Bear Fire has grown to more than 8,000 acres.
Crews are working as quickly as possible to try to contain this fire before our weather changes. Fox 13's Lauren Steinbrecher is live for us right now. We understand she's along the border there of Utah and Carbon counties with more on this challenging fire. We see the wind blowing already. That can't help. Lauren.
Yeah, Amy, so where they opened a small
of Highway 6 to let people through, but you can see it's still closed over here. They are rerouting cars onto a county road and over to Highway 191. Now, the fire communications person for the Bear Fire told me about a half hour ago that the weather, despite the wind that you see, is actually calming down. You can see the smoke coming up from the fire there, but that weather calming down today has made a huge difference for crews. They are actually fighting fire with fire today, and that's in hopes of slowing this 8,300 acre fire down and keeping it away from Highway 6. Now, meanwhile, you see the smoke from here, but we're actually going to pan over in the other direction, and you can see smoke over there from the Benyon Creek fire. That blaze is 4,700 acres. That is 0% contained. That are still in place, and crews are working to protect the buildings, but anyone coming through this area expect to still be rerouted, expect to see lots of smoke as crews are working hard, hoping to take advantage of the good weather that we're having to make some headway. Live along Highway 6, Lauren Steinbrecher, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Lauren, thank you so much. Again, just reiterating, there are some evacuations still going on because of the Bear Fire. Of course, we'll keep you updated on all of that. A unified police officer is being praised for his attempts to de-escalate a violent situation that put his own life at risk.
These accolades came while the Salt Lake County attorney ruled that the shooting was justified. Fox 13's Haley Higgins is live for us in Salt Lake City with more on what happened in this situation. Haley.
Yeah, well, Sim Gill says an officer was legally able to shoot a suspect who they say had taken the service weapon of another officer and fired at a police officer in Holiday last September.
The suspect communicates to him, and he puts his hands down, says that he has a gun.
The investigation into the police shooting leaned heavily on this witness video. Sim Gill says the situation developed rapidly while officers failed to activate body-worn cameras until after the shooting. Gill says they did the right thing.
This officer went through an analysis of reading in a highly dynamic situation.
On September 17th, investigators say Eric Pechtel ran a red light on 4500 South and was partially hit by a truck. After being thrown off his motorcycle, Pechtel ran, catching the attention of Officer Jason Hudgens, who was gassing up. During a confrontation, Pechtel reached into his shorts, threatening he had a gun. Suspecting Pechtel was bluffing, Officer Hudgens put down his gun and grabbed his taser. Pechtel took off, investigators say, and Officer Hudgens deployed that taser, but it failed. During a physical struggle, Pechtel grabbed Officer Hudgens' service weapon that had fallen on the ground and pointed it directly at him.
And at that moment, he valued that person's suspect's life, and he put his life in danger. And at that point, on the threshold of a fatal situation.
Seeing the struggle, another UPD officer, John Selnayer, yelled out to Pechtel, who allegedly turned and shot at him, who then returned fire.
We review these things, we call them like we see them, and here's a situation when an officer does exactly what they're trained to do.
Pechtel was shot 4 times but survived. The Layton man has a lengthy criminal history and was a wanted fugitive after being involved in a crash days earlier that critically injured a woman. Now, Pechtel is reported as saying he was suicidal at the time of the shooting. He is currently being held in the state prison in Draper. Now, he has not yet been charged with anything related to this shooting, and I reached out to his attorney, who did not get back to us. Reporting live in Salt Lake City, Haley Higgins, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Haley, thank you. As for the car crash involving Pechtel, 2 felony charges were dismissed in March. He was accused of driving drunk in Duchesne County when the car crashed, seriously injuring a passenger. Yesterday, that woman filed a civil suit against Pechtel, as well as against the bar that she believes overserved him.
A woman charged in the death of a missing Kearns woman made an appearance before a judge this afternoon. Carolina Marquez appeared by video for her scheduling conference. She is one of 6 people accused in the kidnapping and killing of Nicole Solario Romero. Marquez did not speak today, although her attorney asked the judge for another meeting next week.
It probably would be well to do a telephone conference with everybody sometime in the near future, and to determine when we can do that with 6 defendants. Obviously, it's going to be a task, but that's what we.
I think there's zero ability to do a prelim with all 6 defendants.
A temporary court date was set for July 9th. A young Midvale man is dead after a drowning accident. Unified Police say 18-year-old Gabe Hickenlooper drowned in a pool at the Union Meadows apartment complex last night. That's at 978 East South Union Avenue near Hillcrest High School. Investigators are calling this an unfortunate accident.
Well, Bob State Street in Salt Lake City was closed for nearly 7 hours this morning after a car crashed into a locksmith shop there. Firefighters say that driver smashed right into the side of Glenn's Key Lock and Safe business and actually hit a water line and natural gas line as well, causing the building to flood and prompting a number of evacuations. The driver was treated and released at the scene, but because of the gas line break, about 50 people had to be evacuated from their homes.
It was an accident, and I'm just really glad he's okay. He is okay.
They'll come and make sure it's structurally safe. They'll get it all boarded up, and then we'll just start the process of getting it fixed and repaired. We're due for some updates anyway, so now's it's a good time to do them.
Good attitude. Glad everybody is okay there. Glenn's Key Lock and Safe will most likely set up shop in the parking lot to be able to keep their operations up and running for their walk-in customers.
Are you at home excited over game number 3 of the playoffs where the Utah Jazz are headed to LA? Well, I think a lot of us are, but some fans are going to some extreme distances to cheer on their team. We'll talk about it coming up.
And our temperatures are going to extreme distances as well. Coming up, I'm tracking heat watches and heat warnings. I'll let you know when those are going to affect. Coming up, we're back in 60 seconds.
Thanks for joining us here for the news at 5:30. The U.S. Army held a change of command ceremony this morning at the Utah State Capitol. It marked the change of command of Salt Lake City's recruiting battalion. Incoming commander, Lieutenant Colonel John Lampkin, taking over for the outgoing Lieutenant Colonel Rafael Vasquez, who was in the position for the past 2 years. Lieutenant Colonel Lampkin is excited about the challenge of finding new recruits from around the Mountain West.
I really look forward to working with qualified individuals here to join the Army and Army Reserve and give them some career opportunities they might not have had otherwise.
See, he's already starting the recruiting process right there. The Salt Lake Battalion has more than 300 soldiers and civilians, along with roughly 200 recruiters in 5 Mountain West states covering Utah, Nevada, Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho.
A campaign in Kearns is hoping to make a big splash in the fight to prevent underage drinking. New artwork and signage around the Kearns Oker Park Fitness Center encourages parents to talk with their children about setting clear boundaries. Advocates say parents' disapproval of underage drinking is the #1 reason why children choose not to drink.
When you, as parents, participate in their activities, what they find interesting, then they're going to be more apt to listen to you. They're going to want to listen when you have an important message to talk to them about.
Community leaders say when parents take initiative to have those tough conversations, their children will feel empowered to set boundaries for themselves and help their friends make good decisions.
Still ahead, local spelling experts duking it out to make it onto the national stage. Tomorrow, we're going to profile some of those competing in the virtual rounds of the Scripps National Spelling Bee.
And later in sports, we're breaking down Game 2 last night at Vivint Arena. Just the start that the doctor ordered for the Jazz. But it wasn't without its drama as well. The finish and Donovan Mitchell's injury scare in a bit.
So glad you could join us for Fox 13 News Live at 5. And Amy, so glad that you're here with us today.
Nice to fill in.
Yeah, well, Allison's going to be here too to have your weekend forecast in just a few minutes.
Yeah, we get right to your news right now. This one's a fun one. After being canceled last year due to the pandemic, the Scripps National Spelling Bee is back tomorrow.
More than 200 children from the U.S. and other parts of the world will get their chance to move on to the second round as they try to make it to the finals. News. We talked with 3 positively Utah kids about how they're getting ready for the virtual competition.
It's going to be a lot different because I'm worried if the computer's going to fuzz up like it did a lot during the past school year, and I don't fuzz up when I'm in the middle of a word, then the judge is like, oh, you got it wrong, and then that'd be really bad.
I sign it with my fingers, just the letters with my fingers, like A, B, C, like that. And then I just spell it, and it's just kind of muscle memory, I guess, now, since I've been doing it for so long. I just want to give myself the best chance I can, so I study roots, spellings, definitions. I just need to learn, I want to learn that 4,000 words package back and forth.
These kids are so smart. I feel so dumb reading this story. Virtual rounds start tomorrow. Then the top 10 to 12 spellers will move on to the in-person finals on July 8th. That'll be at ESPN's Wide World of Sports complex at Walt Disney World Resort.
Oh, what a neat opportunity. Really fun. Good luck to them all.
You bet.
Hope it doesn't fuzz up.
It fuzz up, yeah.
Hey, the Utah Jazz and all the fans were all cheering on this team even louder after last night's impressive win over the LA Clippers. That was a fun game.
It was a fun game. Fox 13's Spencer Joseph has more on what fans are saying and some places you can root for your favorite players.
There were no shortage of answers, from staying here and watching the game at home to going out to heading to Vivint, even to driving to LA. Regardless, the Utah Jazz are shaping up to have a very impressive playoff run.
That'll do it. Utah wins it 117 to 111.
As fans take pictures, get their new shirts, and shoot some hoops with legends off the back of Thursday's big win. Attention now turns to Game 3 in LA. If you're a really big fan,
I'm a fan, right? So that's short for fanatic.
Like Garrett Jones, he made the last-minute decision to get on the road to Los Angeles.
Me, my brother, and 2 of our buddies, 4 of us total.
The 10-hour-plus car ride, a small price to pay to cheer his team on.
It's just kind of been a bucket list thing for me to do a playoff game in an opponent's arena. And it's close enough that we can kind of do that drive in one day.
But if a trip for LA isn't for you,
a lot of people come out to watch it here and they enjoy being around other Jazz fans.
Bout Time Pub in the Gateway is ready for a big night too.
The home Jazz games, it brings a lot of foot traffic with them being right next door.
And right now they're saying there are more fans than ever wanting to watch the game together.
A lot more people compared to the average season. I feel like people are a lot more excited for the final games and the playoffs.
But if you still want that arena feel, the Jazz also have an option.
Now we get to have a different kind of crowd as we gather together for these public watch parties.
Free to the public, Vivint Arena will open up its doors just like a regular game, but to watch the Jazz 2 states away on the big screen.
The Utah Jazz are a unifying factor in our community and something that everyone likes to rally behind.
So whether you're staying in town or heading to the game itself, with the Jazz still looking like a force in the NBA, Utah will continue to cheer on our team.
If there ever was a year, I think this is a good group of guys to try and get that job done.
Even if they don't, how well they played this year, that's something to celebrate.
For more information on how to watch the game here at Vivint Smart Home Arena, head over to our website, fox13now.com. At Vivint Smart Home Arena, Spencer Joseph, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Well, if you're wondering, everybody hates Allison Krogan because she went to the game last night.
We're just jealous. Oh my goodness.
But we're not bitter.
I hadn't been to a game since COVID, and I'll tell you what, with the fans full last night, it felt like life was back to normal. It felt like
isn't that great?
pre-COVID times. It was incredible.
And it was fun to celebrate, too.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, the crowd was going nuts. Well, hey, heading into the next couple of days, join the watch party because that's going to be free air conditioning, and we're going to need it over the next couple of days. We do have light smoke here across the state because of a couple of fires that are burning, but mostly clear sky. I'll tell you what, this afternoon it is comfortable. It's about 70 to 80 here along the Wasatch Front. Our sun will set about 9 o'clock tonight, so still a few more hours of daylight to enjoy these comfortable temperatures. 82 for Price, 90 for St. George, so it is hot for some areas, but we're looking at much hotter temperatures in the extended forecast. But the rest of your Friday night here in Salt Lake City in the mid-70s through 9 o'clock. o'clock, clear sky, and then we'll have some areas of breezy conditions like Heber right now, and then down into Panguitch, Blanding, and Ely. The wind is gusting about 15 to 20 miles per hour, but overall, not as much wind as we've seen the last couple of days. Now, come Sunday, especially across southwestern Utah, our wind will start becoming breezy again, and that's why we'll have more red flag warnings across southern Utah returning on Sunday. Now, for your Saturday here in Salt Lake City, how's this to start the day? Upper 50s at 6 a.m. and then into the 80s by noon tomorrow. So comfortable start. Hot afternoon with highs around 90 for Salt Lake City. And here across the state, our temperatures will be about 45 to 60 tomorrow morning with highs around 80 to 90. So it is going to be really hot tomorrow afternoon. High pressure becomes the main story. This dome of high pressure is going to bring lots of heat, potentially record temperatures here across the state. And we're going to keep that heat around until this ridge flattens, potentially by next weekend. But the extended forecast, even through next Friday and Saturday, keeps the heat around, and it doesn't keep a lot of precipitation. Dry this weekend, so that means flash flooding is not a concern for our recreation areas. Make sure, though, you're drinking plenty of water if you're going to be out and hiking, but you can get it into all of those fun nooks and crannies here across the state, and you'll have pretty comfortable mornings for that, and hopefully good stargazing as well, mostly clear sky this weekend. Now, this is a picture from Steinecker State Park. It was designated as a dark sky park in 2018, and this is at one of their stargazing parties. So the nearest light is from Vernal, so it's a pretty remote location, but if you're ever traveling to Dinosaur National Monument or Flaming Gorge, that's a good place to check out, and you can do some stargazing at a dark sky park. Steinecker Park. Now for southern Utah, it'll be close to 105 this weekend. Probably not the best place to be doing the camping. Hoteling for sure, but you'll want the air conditioner on in the afternoon. Close to 115 Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday next week. And for the Wasatch Front, close to 100 for Sunday, 102 on Monday. We keep it close to 100 to 105 all through next week.
The Jazz last night were handed some of the same medicine they gave to the Clippers in Game 1. After building a 21-point lead in the third quarter of Game 2, LA did what pretty much everyone expected them to, and that's make their run. In fact, they ate away at that massive cushion entirely with this play in the fourth. Donovan Mitchell was so good in the first half, 26 by the midway point alone, but a key turnover here led to a Reggie Jackson triple. Jackson matched a season high, regular or postseason, with 29 points, and the Clippers suddenly go up 2. Fortunately, it was short-lived. Joe Ingles with a layup off the top of the glass and in, a bucket that sparked an 18-10 run over the final 6.5 minutes. There's Don to cap a 37-point night, and then add a 20-rebound game by Rudy Gobert, and the Stars were alive Thursday at the Viv to command a 2-0 series lead.
He's one of the more competitive guys that I've ever been around, and that translates to both ends of the floor. It doesn't show up as much on the defensive end. It's not as noticeable, I should say, but certainly in this series with those two guys, they're not just all-star players, but a couple of the very best players in the league.
For us, it's continuing to do what we do and understanding they're gonna punch back. We got to continue to fight and continue to do what we do.
Yeah, you can bank on that. Speaking of Spida, he did force fans to hold their breath for a few seconds at the end of Game 2. Mitchell got taken down hard during a play with Paul George with about 10 seconds left, forcing him to clutch his right thigh for a bit. He did eventually get helped up. Then again, don't expect Mitchell to be joining the likes of Mike Conley on the sideline anytime soon.
I got hit, and it hurt, but I'm fine now. I walked in here. If you want me to sprint for you, I can. I'm good. I think the biggest thing is just, it happens. Thankful it wasn't bad, and move on and get ready for Game 3.
A quick heads up, at 6:30 tonight, you can watch Andrea Urban and I on Fox 13's Facebook page. Break down more on the Jazz as the series now moves to Southern California tomorrow for Game 3. No word yet on whether Conley will suit up for the first time since Game 5 of Round 1. The Utah Grizzlies will host their first playoff game in 2 years against the Allen Americans. Allen swept games 1 and 2 in Texas this week, forcing Utah to prevail tonight at the Maverick Center if they want to keep the 5-game series and their season afloat. Game 4 will follow tomorrow should they prevail. Fans are encouraged to bring a fish to the game to throw onto the ice following the Grizzlies' first goal, a wacky tradition dating back 25 years. And a couple of heavyweights vying for a spot in Sunday's French Open men's final. Rafael Nadal is so dominant on clay. He's won the last 4 French titles and 13 of the last 16 overall, which is insane. But Novak Djokovic was better on this day. What finesse there, and then on match point, Nadal going to hit wide to end it. That's just Nadal's 3rd loss in 108 matches at Roland Garros. We'll be right back.
Just into the Fox 13 newsroom, the city of Wellington in Carbon County is banning all aerial fireworks this year. They said so on Facebook, saying that the firefighting resources are already stretched thin. The ban is to avoid a catastrophic fire in that community. Mind you, violators will be fined $1,000 and held responsible for any and all damage caused by the misuse of fireworks.
See you again tonight at 9.